Hey, this is Pavlina from If God Had a Podcast. I'm with David Archuleta, singer, songwriter, and of course, we all know him from American Idol. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Pavlina.
Yeah, of course. So I have to give a little bit of preface because I think this is so funny. You probably don't remember my first question that I actually gave you back in 2009 was in Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm not sure where the footage is. I know my sister filmed it, but I know it has to be like on an SD card somewhere. That was 11 years ago. I was just struck by your, spontaneity and your genuine personality, and I really loved that. And I remember I asked a question about chihuahuas. So, because I think I wanted to know if you had any pets, because I had some pet chihuahuas at the time. So for the record, do you have any pets?
I don't have any pets.
Okay.
I grew up with pets in the house, like with my family.
I love it.
After I met you, my parents, my family got a couple of chihuahuas themselves. So
oh, did they?
Chihuahua owners. Well, they did. So that was interesting.
I love that so much. That is so funny. I remember like the whole thing. I think we were at a radio station actually, and there was like a group of people, and it was just a really cool thing. So I'm glad we're able to talk now. But you have inspired so many people, particularly millennials and Gen Zs, who have seen you on American Idol, and your talent and your smile and your like grounded personality, about your success. It seems so easy, and anyone that's in the business really knows that it's not ever easy. And these dynamics there's dynamics that most don't know about, and we have to keep everything rolling, the process, and staying true to yourself. All of that can be very tough. So when did you feel the pressure of being David Archuleta, the performer, and when did that really take its toll?
Well, I would say in the middle of American Idol, that's when the most people were watching me every week.
Right.
It was a really big show at that. I mean, it still is a real popular show, but it was just like there were like 30 million people watching each week at that time. And so many people were so invested in it and making sure they were there at home, having it recorded on what is it?
Like a DVR.
DVR. Yeah,
Right.
DVR. And it was a competition. So I wasn't just performing for people. Like I was performing with the expectation of being judged and critiqued by everybody watching. Right. Like that's the power of American Idol, is like everyone gets to watch and be involved, but it's also so strange because you're not just giving people a performance, you're giving them the opportunity to now respond back and give their opinion on what could have been better, what you did wrong, what they don't like about you, what they did like about you. And it's just like, ooh, like, and if they don't like it, if it's to a point where they don't like it enough, they'll say, okay, you're done.
Right, exactly. I think when you have all of those opinions, everyone's opinion coming at you, even when I think if I have like my friends and family and, everyone's opinions, it kind of like blurs the water. Was that ever like a struggle, just getting all of that reaction?
Yeah, it's hard to care. It's hard to worry so much about what other people think. Mm-hmm. And I think especially now, like here we are with the millennials and Gen Z, I think these generations, just anyone who has social media now, with technology, you can connect with everybody. Anybody can see you and watch you. You can watch anybody, see what they're doing each day or each week or month, however much they choose to post. And you start feeling how comparing yourself to other people weighs on you, and also how stressful you can start getting yourself by worrying what other people are thinking about you. Is this interesting enough? Did I look good enough in this picture? How did I sound? Was I nice enough? Am I posting enough content? Are people going to like me? It's so weird because when we saying it sounds so simple. It's like, oh, that's simple. It's not like going to take too much of our focus and like energy and self-value of ourselves thinking about those things, but it does. Like gets people stressed. It gets them depressed even, because they're like, I didn't get as many likes on that. People don't like me anymore. Like, I'm not connecting. How can I get more people to look at me? Is because in our mind, it's so easy to think the more people see me and comment and respond and like, that means people like me more.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have
doing
more
something
purpose.
right.
Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah.
approval of everybody because look how many people responded to this post or to this comment. And then it's like, oh, so it was like American Idol was like my first social media, well, other than like MySpace. MySpace and like Neopets, but like the first like real like social media, because I was on this media TV program in front of millions of people. Suddenly a fan base was following me. People were voting for me each week and making like shirts and wanting posters and wanting to meet and writing letters, and just it was crazy to see people's response and reaction. But then I was like, what do I do next week now? Like, now what I do? Because I didn't, like, the first week I wasn't really trying. I just thought I'm just gonna enjoy this, whatever. And then it's like, whoa, okay, like people actually responded well. Like, and then like every week for months, constantly thinking about how do I make people happy? How do I make people like me? How do I make a performance that people can remember and just enjoy? But it's like, becomes an obsession worrying about what other people think of you. It's like, I need to get out of here. It gives you a nervous breakdown. On American Idol, like everyone on my season were having nervous breakdowns at one point or
believe
another.
it. That's insane. And I definitely, everything that you said, I feel like I've experienced at some point, especially with social media. And it's taken a really long time for me to figure out how all of that works and how to kind of train my mind to not think that way, or to at least recognize when I am thinking that way. And I try to share that with my audience because I think it's so important. And I think, there's a lot of things on social media that are very misleading. So how do you start your day? Like, what are things that you look for, just to help with your self-improvement, kind of on that journey, and, on your like little journey to happiness? Like, how do you start your day?
My routine for the morning is usually I just wake up and I say a prayer. Just that's something that keeps me focused. Then I make my bed. I try to do things that are routine that help me
Yes.
feel like, okay, I've done, even if they're little things like making your bed, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm moving forward in my day. I'm getting things done. I'm about to sneeze.
Bless you.
Uh, well, so yeah, I'll do that, say a prayer, make my bed, brush my teeth, and then I'll read a little bit, and then I'll work out. And usually when I do that, I've found that because I wasn't always doing all those things to start my morning. I wasn't really a routine guy before. Mm-hmm. And I would just kind of wake up and say, well, wherever the wind takes me, what's going to catch my interest? What am I going to feel like doing? And I realized when didn't have a routine, most days you don't feel like doing anything. At least that's how I felt. Most days I didn't feel like doing anything. So I was just like, well, I don't feel like, I'm just going to wait in bed and just look at my phone and maybe play a video game. And it made me feel really directionless, mm-hmm. without purpose. So having a routine, even though I don't feel like making my bed, even though I don't feel like working out all the time, it gave me something it's like teaching you to do things that you don't feel like doing, but help you feel like, but I did it. I got something done. Is really helpful. And I found it's helped my mind get a lot more healthy just doing those simple kinds of things. But then I eat breakfast.
I love it. Very, very cool. That's so great. I am like a psycho with my morning routine at this point because I think I have to be. I'm also just a morning person. So I've also found, I know I wake up at 4 a.m. Like I have to work out at 6. I know it's very like by the end of the day, I'm sort of like, okay, it's been a day. I'm tired. Like I'm kind of done, and then everyone else is like still ready to do things, and I'm just like, okay, it's almost time for bed, like I'm heading out. But I've also found that routines are so important, and I think people just need routines in general. Like, they might seem boring, or like, okay, I'm always doing this one thing, it's like I'm over it, and it's just like, but that keeping yourself in a routine has also helped me so much, because like I'll wait, because now and everyone's like, how do you wake up at 4? And I'm like, after a while, first of all, being a morning person helps. I like the mornings, but waking up, consistently at that time, like your body just kind of gets used to it. And when your body is like, sleep patterns, eating patterns, all of that stuff is just like healthy for the body. So I think I totally agree with you there. But do you think we overthink happiness? I mean, like, we have it better than our grandparents who had world wars and Great Depressions. And they didn't seem to question happiness. It was sort of like, well, this is life, here we are. So why is there such a growing restlessness with millennials and Gen Zs?
That's such a good point. Like, to think of, there wasn't as much to do before, like not so many options. So I'm large so I can see better, but they didn't have they weren't overly stimulated with things. Right. They were given so many choices and options. I was reading a book actually that was I wish I remember what it was called, but it was talking about choices and how the overload of options creates more anxiety. Because before, like growing up, the writer of the book was saying, you know what, before if I wanted a pair of jeans, I went and I got the pair of jeans. It may not fit perfectly, but I was happy because I had jeans.
Exactly.
I didn't know what I was really, how I could get more or get better or more fitted. He says, now when I go, I went and asked someone to help me with jeans because there was a section and the person was like, well, do you want fitted jeans or slim jeans or regular jeans or these? And he said, well, what about just a regular pair? And she was like, the regular pair. And she went up, I think she listed like 11 different kinds of jean fits that they had. And he was just like so overwhelmed, but he was like, oh, cool. Like, which one is the right one for me? Which one is going to fit best? Like, I have options now. But it ended up stressing him out so much because before he would just get a pair of jeans and he was fine with them. And then now we have so many, it's great because our generation, we understand that they're different people, they're different shapes and sizes and races and cultures and preferences that we were able to adapt to and like be more inclusive for sure. But with that, we get so many choices, so many options, and it's just like what kind of, I need toilet paper. What kind of toilet paper would you like? There's thick, right. There's soft, there's ultra soft, there's like 4 different kinds of soft options you can get. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to get. And it can be stressful, but I think there's a lot of joy that comes in just simplicity and being grateful with what you have. And we just live in a world where it's so easy to see what we don't have and what else we could get. If only I had this, maybe I'd be happier. That's the comparison thing. And I think it's just important. I think you can still be super happy. Like millennials and Gen Z, we have so many opportunities, so many ways to connect with people. I think we just need to bring it back a little bit, kind of shut down the constant looking out and just enjoy what we have. We might need to turn off our phone. We might need to not look at so many of the options. I'm guilty of that. Like, which toilet paper, what orange juice should I get? What kind of milk? What type of eggs? Should I get the cage-free or the range-free or the cage and range or the organic, the pasture raised?
What's better for the environment? Who's like, are these chickens safe? Like, you know what I mean? Like all of that stuff, I feel that. It stresses me out too. And I also think it's everything you said about the social media and definitely all the choices and making sure that we're doing the right things. And I think a big one, and I know I'm guilty of this. I think when we have high standards for ourselves, there's like a variety of internal struggles that, are we good enough? Are we achieving enough? Are we getting everything? And being okay with that at the end of the day. And I also agree with you in the simplicity. Like part of my morning routine, like the first thing I do when I wake up is I practice some gratitude, and I'm just like, I'm thankful I have my hands. I can run, because I love working out. So like I can run, I can see things, you know what I mean? Like I just really break it down to, I'm thankful for my hair, like, whatever it may be, like little things that I like about myself, or that are just super, super basic. I'm thankful I have an apartment where I have a roof over my head, like basic things. And that's what's really helped me with all of that. But how do you think many successful people, there's something that many successful people have, and that's the imposter syndrome. So have you dealt with that, and how has your journey been dealing with that?
Man, I'd love to know what other conversations you've had with people about that.
Oh my gosh, I actually wrote a book. I'll tell you about it later. It's very exciting.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, because it's easy when a lot of people are watching you. It's easy for them to get an idea of who you are. They only see a piece of your life, only see you on your best. Like when you've been they see you for a few minutes when you've practiced, you've warmed up, you've put your best dressed clothes on, and they've touched up your hair, and you've been focusing and like getting ready to just put a smile on your face the whole time, kind of a thing. And then you give that, and people think that's all they see of you. So they think that's all of you all the time. And they're like, man, I wish I could be like that. And then you feel like, oh, these people think I'm really cool, and they think really highly of me. Shoot, I don't want to let anyone down, especially if they're looking up to me. So I've got to keep this up. Like I've got to always put my best, but it can be really exhausting. Mm-hmm. And you feel like, man, if people love listening to me, they love watching me on whatever show they saw me on or a music video. It's like, I want to help make their dreams come true. I want it to be all they hoped it would be, but you can't. What's hard is accepting that there's going to be disappointment, that you're going to let people down. Someone's going to watch you as you're like coming off of a red-eye flight after a really long tour, and you're tired, and you're on your way to another early morning interview, and you don't have your hair done, and you're in your sweats, and you're exhausted, and someone comes up to you like off guard, and they're like, hey, I want to see you at your best, happy, and take a picture with me and sign this. And it's like, you're just not always going to show people your best side, because you're human. But it's hard. It's hard because you want to, especially like you said, a perfectionist. I feel like I am a perfectionist too. Like I want things to be, I want to give my best to people. I want to give my top quality. But then I'm always disappointed with myself, because there's always something I could have done better. And then I always realize, wow, I'm not perfect. There are a lot of things I still don't understand and know how to do. And then I forget, and then have expectations on myself again. It's just, it's hard, because then you start forming into someone that you think people want you to be, because you think that this way I will make them happy if I just am like this all the time. And you start forgetting who you are, because you're so focused on what other people think of you, and trying to act and talk and smile and look the way you think people want to see you. And I think it just got to a point for me where I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm feeling so depressed because I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know who I'm supposed to be. And instead of just allowing me to be me and rest in with that, and just allow myself to get to know who I was and be at peace with it, be aware of the good things I did and the things that I didn't do so well, that were hard for me, my weaknesses. I think a lot of times we shy away from that because like, oh, people aren't going to like this. They don't want to see that I don't want to let anyone down, you know, but man, I just, after, I don't know, taking time away from my career and a lot of therapy, it's been helping me to be like, it's okay. It's okay to be you. Mm-hmm. That's okay. And people will actually appreciate who you are. And I'm like, but I don't even like myself that much. How are other people going to like it? I don't know who they fall in love with, who they have hanging on their bedroom wall with posters. Like, I don't know who they think that is supposed to be. But I know who, when I see that person, I know who I see, and I don't like that person. So what can I do to improve it and like be cooler? But it's like, you know what? That's where the unhappiness comes from. You know, you need to just take a break and just say, I'm me. I'm with all the good and the bad, the happy and sad. It's good. It's all right. This is good.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I've felt that. I know what you mean by that. And I agree with you that people do tend to appreciate, and they actually, I think, like the genuine authenticity when you really show them like who you are. But that can be so hard to do sometimes because you don't always like yourself. And I think that just goes back to self-love. And like, I think it's so smart to take a break if you have to do that, or, you know, take a weekend, however long it may take you to kind of like realize and accept yourself for who you are, but then also like start to celebrate yourself, you know, like enjoy all of your weird quirks and all of that stuff. Like that took me forever. I was like, sometimes I'll make like weird sound effects just to like make things funny. Like it'll be random. It's like super random. I'll just be in my kitchen. I'll like do something. I'm like, what? But people think it's funny. Like when it happens, you know, like they were like, what? And it's just like, it's so little things like that have always, I think, just proven to make, you know, make you happy because you're obviously, you know, you're being yourself, you're being your true authentic self, and people usually see that, you know, because I think people can see through facades too, when you kind of have like those walls up. But I want to talk about your music now. So your music has been an outlet for everything that you've experienced. Can you talk about what it really means to you?
Sure. I do want to say real quick though, before we change, I love how you said you're learning to celebrate yourself. Mm-hmm. That was very interesting because I think that's something I haven't allowed myself. I think I tell myself, no, you can't celebrate yourself. So that's something I've had to learn as well. Just to be.
It's hard to do. It really is. I don't know why it's so difficult, because it's like, you know, for me at least, I've realized I think I'm with myself all the time, obviously. You know what I mean? Like I know the weird things that I do, or like, you know, the crazy, whatever it may be. And I'm just like, and I think that's why we start to not like ourselves, is because it's like it's that whole comparing of, you're seeing all these like perfect people and you're like, oh my God, well, I'm not perfect. I don't, you know what I mean? And it just kind of like spirals. So then you just have to, you know, celebrate yourself and be like, I'm dope as hell.
Well, so you asked about the music, right?
Yes.
What did you ask? Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, you're fine. So your music has been an outlet for everything that you've experienced, but can you talk about what it means to you?
For me, what my music has meant to me has evolved over the years, because when I first started, I mean, I was singing covers of other people's songs, and I would just, you know, I would sing them my way of singing them, and how I felt my voice matched it. But then after American Idol, I went to, suddenly these songs are my songs on my album. And at first I didn't really feel super connected to it, because I was just kind of in the machine of the record label and in the business, coming off of a popular show and having a lot of people watching me. And it was just kind of like, let's make something that we think will be popular and will sell. So I didn't really have that, like, this is me in my music kind of feeling. It was just like, all right, I'm doing what I'm told, and I'm going to record these songs because it's going to be a hit. Yeah, it's going to be a hit, and it's going to make these people happy. Not just the fans, but like the people in charge of the project happy. That was more what I was seeing. So And then with time, I realized, you know what? I felt most connected to the songs when I could relate to them. So I started being part of the writing process, and over the last few years, I feel like that's really developed into like, wow, I feel like these songs are me. Like, and it's just, it's so cool to be able to make an album and tell your story to people, tell them what you've learned, what you've lost, what you still don't have a clue how the heck to do still, like just whatever's on my mind, you can tell them, like, to write it, why haven't I just, I don't know how to, like on therapy sessions, when I was writing that, I was like, why am I still single? why can't I make decisions? Why do I always let my fear hold me back? Why am I so tired? Why can't I get out of bed? It was just like a lot of like that's what a lot of my songs are about. It was just like putting out my frustration that I didn't understand, that I didn't like about myself, that I had a hard time accepting about myself. I was like, no, this can't be who I am. This can't be me. I've got to figure this out. I've got to be better. I've got to be more decisive. I need to have life figured out. And so I would refuse to accept that I wasn't perfect, that I was so flawed, and that I had so many weird quirks to myself. I was frustrated. I was like, okay, I've dealt with this long enough. I want to get over this now. I want these to leave. And going to therapy, it just made me realize, you know what? Sometimes you just got to be okay with those quirks. And sometimes you got to be okay. You got to accept that there are going to be annoying things about you. So that was hard for me to like understand. But once I did, when I finally was like, let it in, I softened my heart and let the reality come into my heart. It was really peaceful. It felt really good. And I was just like, oh, like I was able to like see myself and like hold myself in my hands and like, not physically.
I know what you mean. Yeah, totally.
But like, and just be able to have compassion for myself and say, hey, like to look at myself just in my entirety and still love who that was. Right. It was a process, but it was a really, really great thing. And I think you have to be okay. It's like, you have to think about the things you don't like about yourself, and not in such a negative way, not being like, oh yeah, that sucks. Oh, I hate that about myself. What a terrible human being exists within me. I just had to be like, you know what? Those things that's who you are. What if there's a purpose for that? What if there's something you can learn? What if you can be helped and be grateful for the help someone else gives you, for what you lack and what you're missing? Someone else can fill you up, and it'll just make you even more grateful and appreciative of the people in your life, And so therapy sessions, like the actual therapy has been good. That was something I did today. I went to therapy, and making the album therapy sessions was another, just like, it was just therapeutic. It was just, it was healing. It just helped me to have appreciation for myself a lot more. I didn't think music could do that. So that's why it's been evolving. It went from like, this is fun, and it's still fun, but it's like, I can be personable and like just be vulnerable is what I guess I've learned. I've realized it's hard for me to not be vulnerable. I was like, I feel like if I'm not vulnerable, then I'm not myself. But before I thought, if I'm vulnerable, that means I'm weak. I'm not a man. I'm not cool and edgy like a lot of these other pop singers are. But with time, I was just like, I'm broken. And forget this. Screw it. I'm just going to be broken. I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. There was a point where I was with music. I was like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I've had it. But as that process happened, and I just accepted that I was broken and didn't know what I was going to do with myself and with my music or with my future, I started writing songs. It's like it started coming out of me, and then people were like, "Hey, I relate to that." I'm like, "You do? You relate to feeling messed up and like confused and like lost and worthless sometimes and like anxious?" And they're like, "That made me feel better." I'm like, "It made you feel better to hear me complaining?"
I know. I think that like vulnerability is, first of all, like so beautiful. You should totally read Brene Brown. She has a book. It's over there. I don't know what it's called, but Brene Brown, she talks all about vulnerability. She's amazing. And she'll answer all of those questions because I could go on forever about it. It's so good. But no, I think a lot of people really respect and appreciate the vulnerability. And I know for me, like when I'm feeling sad or like when I'm like not in a good space and I listen to songs like that, it does make me feel better. I don't know what, like, I think it makes me feel less alone, like less of, I'm not the only one with these thoughts, or like, you know what I mean? It's like, I have a friend, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, he gets it, you know, and that's really, really a beautiful thing. But Therapy Sessions is your latest album. Can you explain the title Just Breathe? Because those are very like the lyrics are very moving.
Thank you. Just Breathe was the last song. It's not the last song on the album, but it was the last song that I wrote for the Therapy Sessions project. So I don't know if you can hear the kids.
A little bit.
The neighbor kids are playing outside. So
cute.
But it was a time where I was like coming to the end of like letting out all this frustration and confusion that I had about myself and with my fear but after like writing about it, I had been going to therapy and I came into the writing room with my friends who were the other writers, Isabeau and Nate Dodge and Isabeau Miller. They just said, "You look calm today." I was like, I feel calm. I just feel grounded and at peace. And I said, things haven't changed. Like I still have the issues I've always had, but I'm at peace with it. It's like it's just interesting that I was able, it was especially in that moment that week. It was about a year ago. It was just like, even amidst the chaos, it was amazing to still feel the peace amidst it all. And so we wrote about it. So Just Breathe, it was talking about feeling like you're, even regardless of what's going on, and if you feel like you're sinking and going into these depths of who knows what, depths of despair, depths of fear, of stress or burdens or whatever, you can still just take a moment to be still and just breathe.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so that's kind of where that song came from. It was from my own stillness amidst everything.
I love that because I think breathing is so powerful. Like people really underestimate the power of like breathing and like deep breaths and all of that. Right. So I really loved that song, and actually the whole album I think is amazing. But what are your plans and places where people can see you? I know we're still like in COVID and everything, so it makes it a little bit difficult, but where can people find all of your stuff?
Yeah. I'm doing an online Christmas concert.
Awesome.
For Christmas. And so that'll be fun. I think it's on the 12th December on Stage It. And then I'm also, I've just been writing new songs. So my 2020, it was interesting to like an interesting time of year to decide to release an album. But 2021, I'm looking to release more music. So I'm excited for that. It's going to be, I think I've closed a little bit of the therapy sessions aspect of it. And I just kind of want to like move forward with life in general now. And it's nice. I feel like therapy sessions, I was kind of like in the gate, kind of fear, like, should I walk out of this and just run? And I feel like the music I'm writing now is kind of like just running out in the grass and just feeling, just enjoying life and what it has to offer. And I don't know exactly how to explain it, but yeah, new music in 2021 and a tour. Who knows? That might change too, depending on COVID, but I have, so far I have planned a spring tour. So that should be on my website and all, but if not, then I'll still release new music anyway, so.
I love it. Well, Therapy Sessions is the latest album, and I'm assuming it's davidarchuleta.com, right?
Yeah, David Archuleta with one T, ARCHULETA.com. Because a lot of people think it's two T's.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Well, I love it. David, thank you so much for coming on If God Had a Podcast. I really enjoyed talking with you.
Yeah, it was great to talk to you again.
I know. After 11 years, I was like 10 or something. It was crazy. Like, I love this. But thank you so much for coming on. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me.